Hey guys, so here's the notes for 2.7 extension day 3. We're going to be talking about how to write the equation of a piecewise function. Okay, this I'm kind of just going to skip this part and actually just move on to here. This is going to make a little bit more sense when we're doing it actually this way. Now we have actually talked about how to write a linear equation with restrictions. So we're doing the same idea, but now we're going to have multiple linear equations. Now the questions you see on the side, we're going to be answering those when we actually write the equation here. Now, the first thing is formatting for a piecewise function. So remember when you graphed them, you saw the format of like either f of x, g of x, h of x, whatever of x, it does not matter. Then we had the equal and then little squigglies, okay? Now when we write this, on the left-hand side are going to be our equations. Now let's look how many lines are on the graph. There are 2 lines, so that means we will have to find 2 equations. So I'm going to go ahead and do like a little out so I know I have to find 2 equations. And I know for each of my equations I will have to have a restriction. So I'm going to write that here. Now below I'm going to just say here's our equations because it is always on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side is always the restrictions. Okay. Now, just like we did before, and this was really in our 2.7 extension day 1 notes, how we're going to write the equation of a line is in that mx plus b form. Now, we are not going to use y anymore because that's why we have the f of x. So we only care about the mx plus b. So we need to figure out what is the slope and what is the y-intercept of our graph. So let's go ahead and figure that out for our first one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with our line that has the open circle. So first, let's determine, well, what is the y-intercept? Where does this graph cross the y-axis? Well, it crosses at 2. So my b value is 2. Now I'm going to determine what is my slope. So to determine this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go from, basically I'm going to go left to right. It's a lot easier. So I'm going to go from this point. So it looks like I go up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right. So remember, up means positive and right means positive. So my slope here is 1. So we're going to write that equation, so mx. So either we can just write it as x or we can do 1x and our b value is 2. Okay, now we're going to find the equation of the second line. So here, we have to figure out, well, what is the y-intercept? Well, I see that the closed circle, that is my y-intercept, and it crosses at 0. So my b is 0. Now I need to figure out what is the slope. So once again, I'm going to go from like a left point to go to the right point. So it looks like I go up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1. So that means my slope is just going to be 1. So now I write that one. So either I can write it as 1x or just x. And because our b is 0, we don't need to write it there. Okay, now that I know my equations, now I have to do the restrictions. Now the restrictions are going to come from the open and closed circles. Now don't forget, we always use x when we are doing our restrictions, just like we did it in the 2.7 day 1 notes. Okay, now for my 1x plus 2, I need to determine what is the x value of that open circle. Basically, what you're doing is you're looking, well, where does the open circle and the closed circle, where do those 2 overlap? So we look, the open and closed circles, they are right on top of each other. That means they have a common x value. So we look at our closed, which I have in as purple, and our open circle, the x value they have in common is 0. So we're going to go ahead and use that number to represent for our inequality or restriction. Now, this is what we've done before. Let's look at the line of x plus 2, or the 1x plus 2. Let's look at it. Now, are the x values look like they're getting bigger or smaller than 0? Well, since the graph is going to the left, that does represent it's getting smaller. So to represent smaller, we're going to use the less than symbol. Now remember though, notice that our circle is open, so we do not use it use an equal bar. But what about for our second one? Well, notice that the graph is going to the right-hand side of our 0. So for the 1x, those x values are getting larger, so we are going to use the greater than. And notice that the starting point is closed, so we're going to use an equal bar. Okay? So that is actually our final for our writing a piecewise function. Okay, we're going to try this one again. Go ahead and make sure you watch the second part of our 2.7 Extension Day 3 notes.